Good evening, everyone. We're going to share with you our beer recommender. A quick shout out to Beer Advocate. That was the website that we culled most of our data from. Not that they know about it. We also used Webstaurant Store. That was one of the sites that we collected some of the feature information about beer styles, the different beer styles. We used their lovely little images to select the color for each beer, which we broke down into 5 different options. We also captured aroma, custom flavor, such as banana, chocolate, fruity, floral aromas. And due to some of those categorical features, we needed to use, well, we didn't need to use necessarily, but we chose to use get dummies to convert our data into 0-1 score. So whether it had custom flavor, yes or no. Flavor and body scale, these were 2 of the features that if we weren't sure of the information, we would give it a 2 for a neutral. If we didn't necessarily know if a beer was a light body or a strong flavor, we would give it a neutral score. From the other features, hoppiness, maltiness, fruitiness, sweetness, sour, spicy, and bitter, some of this information was provided. Some of it we had to use our own personal experience to kind of massage the data and enhance it a bit. And used a different scale of 0 for not having any hoppiness or maltiness, etc., to something very hoppy or malty. So we had our style information, and we started an extensive scraping project where we went to the website and captured all of the URLs for the different styles of beers. Then we went to each of those URLs and we got each of the beers for each of those styles and got those links. Then we went to each of those beer links and captured the data from each individual beer type. So we came out with 30,000 different records of features of different beer information, including the the score and who it was, the ABV, which is alcohol by volume, ranking, etc. So lots of information captured, and so we had to store that data, and I'll let Jing talk about where we put the data.
Yeah, this time we choose like PostgreSQL. I'm a big fan of this database right now. There are a lot of things, maybe this is too much I'll explain a little bit. The reason I choose this one is this is the open source database. You don't need to pay. It's support is very well. If you get a job stuff, that's the database because I'm DBA. That's the database I recommended for now. That's very good because this is a object-oriented database, but it's like relational database. Maybe that's too much, but they can handle the workload from like a small single machine. Then they also works very well with internet-facing applications, which a lot of data. They load the data very fast. Then they have regular features like whatever we use, the functions, wheels, that is everybody familiar with. Maybe not this class, but this is very common relational database use. You will get a lot easier to do the work. Okay, that's the thing. And also they have something called a foreign wrapper, which you can get a different resource, whatever the file systems, or the files from other countries, they can have that one. They can put it together and showing it very well. That's the database why it's getting very popular right now. So I just want to introduce this. This is our table. Basically, I just want to point it out. We have a lot of zeros, ones here. This is one table. We have more column in the middle. I didn't show that much. Okay, let's say. That's besides we do the other data, this is the what we scraped with the user reviews. What we try to get from there is beer names, styles, and the ratings. And we also go through every pages together. this is the initial model we tested. We're using like the scores, basically like the users. If they score the beer like over 4.0, we put that, oh, this is like the good one. That's very high review. Then later we use like 5% of user ratings because we think about it like a 4. What about 3.99? It's not going to be the difference. So it's more makes sense with the percentage of the user ratings. We tried like 4 modules, like 4 algorithms. We tried like a KNN, and I tried with logistic regression. The second one is not have very good result. The first one actually it was getting very good result with I think the K equal to like 10.9 here. You can see this one is going to go static, and this is the numbers, but you have to choose the the case, and we have some troubles to like say how you automatically generate that thing. So I'll let Vanessa to go with next tool.
Thank you. Because we were worried about creating the K like kind of programmatically, we looked into 2 additional models, which were decision trees and random forest, and honestly they both came out with excellent results. When we had a user with a lot of different reviews, we were coming out with like R-squares over 0.9 consistently. So in the end, random forest ended up being more consistent for more samples that we used, so we ended up going with that one. So once we decided on the random forest, we kind of had this discussion about what we were going to do about sample size. And what we decided was that we needed at least 5 yeses to come out of this. So we scrape the user data, we mash it in with our features, and from that, at the top 5%, we want to have at least 5 records, and we want them to be over 3.75, because if they're not, then that's not really a great rating anyway. So if that was the case, we would go ahead and run the algorithm, and it's individual to the user. And then if not, we would basically reassign so that anything above a 4.75 became a yes or a like. If that worked, we would go that way. Otherwise, we actually created an additional column that was a top 10% of yeses. And if we could get to 5 there, we went ahead and generated the random forest. Otherwise, we basically went with a generic recommendation list for that user. And it's noted, and you'll see that later on the website. So once we ran that model for the individual user, then we went ahead and we took our database, split it essentially into 2. We removed the beers that they had already rated. We didn't want to recommend something that somebody had already tried. And we predicted likes. And if we didn't get any recommendations, which happened if the sample size wasn't big enough or if their yeses were kind of like all over the place and not consistent, then we defaulted to the top 10% as the likes and reran it and see if we could get recommendations to come from there. And if either one of these failed, then we went ahead and returned the generic recommendations. And now Paul's going to give you the live demo.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. All right, live demo. Always a good idea to do a live demo here, right? We were originally going to store a user's data into the database and just run that, but what's the fun in that? So let's take a look at our website here. All right, so this is BeerRecommender. So you see up the top left a nice stylized logo there, like startups of old. We don't like vowels, so there's a few things on this site that I'll show you in a little bit, but first we're just going to search a user. So we'll go to a Beer Advocate username. We're going to search a user that was kind of the user we've been using to test this whole time. Brutal Truth is the user's name. So we're going to put that in here and click Get Recommendations. You'll see we have a nice loading animation while it's working. So to be clear what's going on, it's going to Beer Advocate, getting scraping Brutal Truth's reviews, beer reviews, matching those to features, and then running a machine learning algorithm on that, and then matching up and getting recommendations based on our database. we've been talking. I really hope we get to meet Brutal Truth at some point, because this person has been instrumental to the creation of this. And to be frank, I have some brutally truth recommendations for them. I'm sorry. That was really bad. But anyway, here is a list of recommendations for Brutal Truth. You'll see here on the left side we have a little profile for Brutal Truth with their user info, which is basically some info that we got from their user scrape from Beer Advocate. Beers rated, brewers rated, beers reviewed and rated. We have their top 3 beers here. You can see their styles are American Porter, American Double, Imperial, and you'll see some of those over here in the beer recommendations as well. Looks like American Double, Imperial Stouts over here. So you can see a couple of those actual styles came into play here. And then on the top left, we can see we have our R squared right here. That's pretty good, right? So we'll go back to the main page here. And all these links work. They'll each send you to a list of the either a top 10 list of the style or the brewery, of beers for whatever we're looking at. So let's look at Allagash. Is my favorite brewer. So we'll take a look. And we have a list of top Allagash rated beers here. And we also have a couple more things. We have a page that kind of just goes through the magic of what we did, because it was very magical. And that basically what you heard today from everyone. And then we have another page right here, which is basically just the top 10 of all the beers that are in our database. And then lastly, we have a nice little About Us page, which is basically filled with some fun bios. And I think one person has an inspirational quote right there. And then, unless I'm forgetting anything, that's the end for Satraps of Data. Thank you, everyone, for your time.